Hey guys, Marseille here, bringing up a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so today we are continuing on with our series where we take a look at different units and teams and see how well they have survived the anniversary power creep by taking them up against the Blue Zone Gogeta, a stage that a lot of people consider to be the hardest fight in the game now. And a lot of people requested on the previous videos that we take a look at the BUU duo. So we are going to run them and their team. So using two of them as the leads. I'm kind of glad I waited another day to do this from when all the stuff dropped yesterday, because we do have the benefit of having these guys on the team now. And they, of course, do get the full 200% lead from the BUU duo. So I think this should be pretty interesting. So we're going to go ahead and get ourselves started off here. The key on the first turn is really bad. Because ideally, I don't want to be floating them off, especially not this early. Because one of the things I was going to say is the fact that we really do want to try and benefit from getting as many stacks as we possibly can. Getting immediately slot 1 supered is always not great as well. Especially because this AGL Goku wants to super attack, get his 18 key supers in order to start stacking his defense. And of course, by getting hit in slot 1, he was going to get the extra key he needed to actually do the 18 key super. And then we don't get that, so at least the super attack is out of the way for the turn and we don't have to worry about the BUU duo eating a super. Of course, when it comes to the 8th anniversary LRs, the BUU duo are the one that is considered to have aged the worst out of the two. The GT duo you can still get a lot of usage out of in events as long as they don't have AoEs. Neither of these units are particularly good against AoEs. The BUU duo, of course, slightly better against them later into the fight because they can build up a good amount of raw defense to the point where you could get enough defense to be able to tank those AoEs, because obviously they're not hitting as hard as super attacks. But of course, the thing we have to remember when it comes to the Blue Zone Gogeta fight is the final phase where he has the AoEs. He is STR, which means we have type disadvantage against him. So it's going to be a tricky one here for the BUU duo for sure. But, you know, we'll see how we get on. We got the also Bulma. Bulma is on the team because, of course, she was a very popular option to be run on these guys' team. Being that she's on the Power of Wishes category, she provides that support across 2 turns, which means, of course, both of the BUU duo units are going to get the buff from her. So she is very useful. She's on Power of Wishes, so she's at least getting the 170. I mean, after her release, you know, after the release of the worldwide stuff, she was getting run on the BUU duo team quite a bit, only getting their 150 lead. She's in an interesting kind of spot though, because with how hard some of the bosses are starting to hit now, she's not like the absolute untouchable defensive god that she kind of was when she came out, but she's obviously still perfectly viable, still runnable. You just have to be a bit careful sometimes depending on the situation, right? Because I mean, she's got guard for the first certain number of turns. She builds up damage reduction each turn she's appearing on the rotation. So I mean, like, you know, you get to some of these longer events with hard hitting AGL boss at the end, and then she could really start to be in trouble. But I mean, she's able to do pretty well. The support's really good. The orb changing turn is obviously very good for not only healing, giving her a huge buff to stats, and if we've gotten the BUU duo, or at least one of the BUU duo units, into their standby at that point, her active skill, of course, changes the entire field of orbs, allows us to pick all of those up as a massive boost towards the Spirit Bomb. So ideally what we would like is to maybe get one of the BUU duo into standby when we're up against the Tech Super Saiyan Gogeta, and then once we get into that STR Gogeta phase, just drop the Spirit Bomb on him and do a particularly large amount of damage. But of course we'll have to see how that pans out. Now, with the team being so powerful, it means we can get through the earlier phases a little bit faster, so we do want to try and make sure we get the opportunities for these guys to stack. But we are looking at, this is the start of their second appearance, and we're at 360k defense. We didn't get a ton of supers on the first turn due to the key. At least this turn now, by getting 24 key, we of course can get the couple of extra additionals. One of them is guaranteed, and then one has a chance to become a super. Then we have the hidden potential as well. So that's ideally what we need to be getting, right? Is just get as many supers as we possibly can during the turn. We're doing all right though in terms of, we've lost a little bit of HP along the way here, which means we will be able to get the Vegito fusion hopefully sooner rather than later. He'll probably, ideally, I guess, want him to be the slot 1 unit for the other rotation, with Kai Goku being the main slot 1 unit on this one, at least for now. Because he's been getting his hits in, getting built up. He should be doing pretty good. The final phase, as we say, is STR. So Kai Goku obviously pretty good in that sort of setup. We definitely do not... Okay, I was just literally just going to say, we don't need the BUU duo to be the ones taking a super attack here. Do we even live this? 1.1 million. So, I mean, there you go. That's always been their problem, and it's going to continue to be, is they can't be the one that eats a super attack. So, we're just going to jump straight back in here. Definitely not ideal. Double BUU duo first rotation. Well, that's pretty bad. If I was just setting up to start recording, like, the beginning of the video, I would immediately just back out and go back in. But let's see. We can at least get Bulma's support, have her in slot 1, get these orbs for you, and then get... Yeah, we still get 24 key for both of them, so at least they're going to get their attacks off here. No slot 1 super, good. Bulma, of course, on turn 1, nowhere near as much damage reduction. She does still have the guard, but definitely much better for her to be getting her super attack off first before she has to take a hit. And we did get the orbs to get the additional as well. So she gets a little bit of extra defense here. Ideally, she is the one that gets supered, especially now that she's done the hidden potential super as well. I think she might tank their super for double digits because of the guard. But of course, it's going to be one of these guys that eats the super again. I don't actually know how much they hit for in the first phase, because of course the first phase is the weakest, quote unquote, but with these events, like, you know, even the weakest phases of the bosses, their super attacks are still doing pretty decent damage. And yeah, that's always going to be the issue with the BUU duo. Now, if you lose a decent chunk of HP early on, then of course you do have the option to go into their standby as soon as it's available. But you're always going to be in that kind of danger zone where if you're just a little bit of HP above the threshold for their standby, then they can't use it, and then you're in even more of a dangerous situation, right? Because your HP is lower and they're not great at taking these really big hits. So, I mean, you can see we're tanking normals for double digits, which honestly, like in the first phase of an event, especially after a unit gets like 3 super attacks, that is what we would expect to see. But I suppose it's crazy to, I guess, to say out loud when you think about it. It should be obvious, but just thinking about it out loud, the fact that this unit is a year old now, right? This is them versus the anniversary content that released a year after them. So hopefully we get some decent performance out of them. But yeah, they've never been a unit that can tank super attacks very well. They need to be able to stack, so having these like longer events is interesting. Like if you take them into the movie bosses red zone, I think we had in the video that I did with my ones at 55%, but even by the time we got up to like either Bojack or Janemba, they still took like 600k from a super because of how hard these bosses are hitting. But fortunately, you know, this team has what, 730k HP. So you can still get into a situation where you're gonna, you know, live in those scenarios, but that's after an event where they had a crazy amount of time to stack and they still take big damage from a super, because that has just unfortunately, as I say, always been their biggest weakness. Is raw defense just does not cut it anymore when it comes to tanking big bosses. Back in the day, really all throughout the lifetime of Dokkan, even with like when the red zone first dropped on the 7th anniversary, although there weren't really any units that fit into that category at that time, you've been able to get enough raw defense that you can tank these big supers, right? Because when we first got our first boss that was hitting for like 1 million damage, I don't know if that was AGL Broly or if it was one of the stages before and Broly hits a little bit harder. You know, you could get units up to 1 million defense on the right sort of turn, with the right rotation, with a bit of build up potentially. But now, like, a unit with 1 million defense is still going to take like 2 million damage from like Beast Gohan, if that's all they have, right? Raw defense. So now we get the opportunity to start building up these guys a little bit, which I obviously want to take full advantage of here. So we're going to do this, and then of course the orbs are terrible. I wanted to make sure we got their key, so it means no support passive from Bulma, which is super annoying, but it is what it is. We need to take a little bit of damage in order to get the fusion for STR Vegito. And then, of course, that will really help out. I think the big thing about the STR Vegito EZA being a massive buff for the BUU Duo team is, as we've been saying, they can't take super attacks. So as soon as we can get Super Vegito out and get a Scouter for 10 turns, it basically means we never have to put the BUU Duo in front of a super attack because we know where they are. The problem is, in the lead up to those super attacks coming, we have to just get lucky and not get hit by one, right? So we got lucky here, and the STR, Goku and Vegeta are taking the super. Still haven't lost enough HP to be able to transform into Super Vegito, though. So, but the BUU Duo definitely dodged a bullet on this turn. And then we're at 10.8 for their attack. Obviously, no support from Bulma on the current rotation. But, I mean, their defense should be more than good enough to tank normals for double digits here still. I mean, the goal would be to try and get them to a level of defense where they can actually tank Gogeta at the ends AoEs for double digits. But I think his AoE does like 1,000,000, I think. Or I think that might be post-super. But he also has type advantage over them, which means it's more than that. So their defense is going to have to be way over 1,000,000 for them to be able to tank his AoEs for double digit damage. As I said, we can kind of get away with potentially getting one of them into the standby mode by then, which will allow us to tank very nicely, but it all depends how that's going to play out. So I'm going to want to do this. It means we're going to miss out on a stack for the BUU Duo, I think, because Goku probably kills, but we're going to get no same type orbs here because I don't want to get like a huge amount of healing. This is one of those rare occasions where I actually just really want them to slot one super, but I don't think they are going to. No, they won't. So 12 million. Oh, he must have, yeah, he's got his full, he's been hit enough times to have his full buffs now. This is the thing about STR Vegito is STR Vegito having the 77% or less HP restriction usually is like not an issue, right? Like it's a decent number. You know, if you start taking big hits from some of these bigger bosses, that seems like a perfectly reasonable amount to be able to work towards. But the problem is that, you know, you can get caught like where we are now. Like this amount of HP, these guys should be okay to tank in slot 1. Although I say that, depends if we get supered or not. They got 429k defense and only 30% damage reduction. So it's kind of a hit or miss potentially. We've got the BUU Duo here, 9.2, 920k, right? So nearly 1,000,000 defense. I think the safest thing to do here realistically, because if we want to see how well they're going to do when we get to the final phase, I think the safest thing to do really is I'm just going to use an item now, because I do really want to see how well we can do if we get a little bit further into the stage. And I realized, like, you know, I know there are some, we talked about this in one of the previous videos as well for this series, is it's one thing to see like how good the team is against these events with no items active, but like I do want to see how well they do or how well they can build up to when we get to the very end. And of course, you know, on this turn it was pretty much a case of a slot 1 super against these guys means death, and then a super against the BUU Duo means death, right? So the ideal rotation is that no super in slot 1, these guys get their super attacks off, and then they get supered, which is exactly what happened. So of course, after using the item on this turn, we did not need to use it at all. Because, yeah, they would have still... we've probably taken some damage from the super, but not a lot. Right, and now these guys, once they're done with their supers, they are going to be over 1,000,000 defense. Now, considering we missed Bulma's orbs on the previous turn, remember, that's their defense without that support. If we'd got Bulma's orbs on the previous turn, these guys would have potentially been at, or probably just over 1,000,000 defense at the start of this turn, which is pretty good. It's just, unfortunately, like I say, you know, a type disadvantage boss, they're not going to be tanking a super attack with that level of defense, right? So they build up their crit chance though with each super, so of course by now they should be fully built up. 50% chance to crit is very good. And then we've got our Gogeta in slot 3 here. I mean, he's obviously a big asset to the team. If you think about it, like, we would be, if we weren't trying to showcase the BUU Duo a little bit, we would be putting Gogeta in slot 2. But then, of course, that can be scary because there was 2 attacks in slot 2, 3 attacks in slot 3. You know, there's all the likelihood that you put the BUU in slot 3 and then they're the one that eats a super. But it's very difficult to manage with some of these units sometimes when it comes to things like stacking, right? Because in a more difficult event, if you want to run the BUU, but then you're floating them off because of the positioning of the enemy attacks and you don't want to put them in front of too many, then it's detrimental to a stacking unit to be floated off because you get less turns with them on rotation, which means they do less super attacks, so then they get less stacks. So then you get to the end of the event and their defense is nowhere near as high as you would like it to be. So what are these guys on this rotation? Yeah, see, they haven't gone anywhere near the build-up. They're at 526, and I really can't risk putting them in slot 1, because even with the Whis active, like, Gogeta will kill them with a super in slot 1. So go ahead and do this, and then do this. Get the support for the next turn. I'm very interested to see what the BUU on the next turn's defense is going to be, considering we got the Bulma support and we got all those extra attacks. And on the last turn, they were almost at 1 million defense anyway. So, yeah, Goku, I think, kills. Yeah, it's very unfortunate for them. Again, not even needing to be floated off. If you keep getting into a cycle like this, where they come onto rotation and then they're just getting killed by the unit that's in slot 1, they don't get any stacks. So, all right, so they are at... Oh, that's 1.3 million. Okay, I can probably see it clearer, yeah, if we do that. They're at 1.3 million defense now at the start of this turn. These guys are at 624. I think what I'll do is if we stand by you, I get to see where the super is. Oh, it is at the end. Okay, well, perfect. I guess we'll just do that then. So you guys get to go off and super attack here first. Then you are at full key already anyway. Ideally, I don't want to heal. I want to take some damage between now and the next turn so that we can actually get Super Vegito to come out. But obviously, at the same time, it becomes tricky. You want to kind of get that damage in a bit earlier on, because now that we're this deep into the event, the worry is, of course, that a unit getting caught by a super is not going to be putting us into that HP range of getting the fusion with Vegito. It's going to be killing us. So we do have to be very, very careful. But yeah, the BUU are up to 1.3 million. I mean, stacking units always benefit from longer events, right? The mean, you know, when the stacker stacks. But like, yeah, this is, you know, the current relevant, potentially most difficult event in the game. We're building a team that I think is very reasonable. Now, would we always necessarily risk running these guys on rotation or even running 2 of them on the same team? Probably not. If I was going to run these guys still in difficult events, whilst you still are always taking the gamble of not wanting them to be the one that get hit by a super, I would still probably only risk running 1 of them. Because as we've seen perfectly displayed in this run, the other one has been getting really unlucky with the number of super attacks that we've been able to get. So this guy has almost 3 times their defense at this point, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, we want to get to STR Gogeta just so we can see how much is that, how much of the AoE is going to do to him. That's like the big thing. But yeah, so here comes Gogeta Super, and then, oh, the animation skip is on, of course, but get the Dragon Fist, and then move on to the next turn. So now the problem is, if I use your thing, then we don't take damage for the turn, which means we're definitely still not getting Vegito out. You're only at 600k defense, though, and I believe... Do you still have Guard? Guard's all attacks for 6 turns, so no. I don't think he has a Ki Blast super, does he? So, I mean, if we get supered in slot 1, it would just be GG. So, unfortunately, that means I have to do that. The only upside, of course, is I can, if I do this, draw all the attacks onto you, as long as this doesn't kill, which it might, especially if it crits. Okay, good. I was going to say, at least now I can get 1 extra super with, I can get 1 extra super with the BUU. So we'll do that. And then do this. I'll keep Goku on rotation, obviously, because the final phase is STR. But yeah, this is the other kind of scary thing is, so we didn't get the standby with them because we haven't dropped below the HP threshold. So let's see. We're going to get 1 extra super attack with you. Maybe 2 if this doesn't kill, but they should have their crit chance built up now as well anyway, so. Okay, good. I'll take it. Extra super for them means an extra stack. We take those. But yeah, this is where it's going to get interesting on this next turn, because we've gone all the way to STR Gogeta, but we can't fuse into Super Vegito. I don't think their standby is available, is it? No. Oh, no, it is. Of course it is. Because it's... I obviously just wasn't paying attention on the previous one. Do they have to attack or get hit? I forget. Because the other guys... let me get the thing up on the global here just so I can double check it. Because it's either get hit or attack a certain number of times, isn't it? 4 or more attacks. Unironically, it's probably because the other BUU duo just literally hadn't gotten a chance to attack 4 times, which is kind of funny. Right, so on this turn, we are starting out now at 1.5 million defense with them. So, I really want to see them take this AoE, but the problem is, where is he going to super? That is the question. We have no way to know, right? So I think I'd probably do this, right? Go ahead and use the standby. Then we grab as many orbs as we can. So we grab these. Then we grab these. And then we go ahead and do this. And then we grab these. So we get the 23 extra orbs for charging the Spirit Bomb. So Spirit Bomb's already fully charged now. Vegeta taking double-digit damage from the normals. That's what we would hope for. Be interesting to see how much he would take from a super. But... because I think the... Majin Buu duo would take it. I mean, they're both technically the Buu duo, right? The STR Goku and Vegeta. But yeah, he is getting supered, so how much are we taking from this? Bear in mind that their standby is supposed to be... yeah, perfect, okay. I was going to say, the standby is supposed to be their, you know, invincible, turtle up, charge the Spirit Bomb, not get killed kind of thing, right? So, yeah, them taking double digits from this Gogeta is very, very good. And then these guys are going to get their supers off. I mean, the thing is, in base, they're obviously not as crazy as Vegito, like, especially when it comes to damage. But we're just still stacking up defense. After supering, they have 50% damage reduction. So, I mean, they're still good in base. It's just one of those things that has kind of always been the case with transforming units, where it's really disappointing when you just don't get them to transform. So... and, of course, this puts us in that dangerous spot, as I say, with the next turn is going to be... the BUU duo that weren't able to get many attacks in. Their defense is not going to be anywhere near as high. So we'll see how this kind of pans out on the next turn here. At least we have the Bulma support as well. But yeah, the next turn, I mean, unless we could just pop the other item, of course. But the next turn could potentially be GG. I guess it depends. But we'll see what our defense is like for the start of this next turn. We do have the AGL Goku for slot 1. We can use his Spirit Bomb. We're going to get to Super first, and then there's only one other attack in that middle slot. So as long as that other attack isn't a Super, I mean, these guys are at 800k defense. They're going to get to Super first again. So I think we should be okay, but we'll see, of course. So we'll go ahead and do this. I mean, the BUU duo, unironically, they might actually be able to just kill him. Because if AGL Goku doesn't kill him here, I think they actually will. Especially if they get the crits, because we've been building up their crit chance. So I guess now we get to find out. Goku tanking for double digits. He's going to take the super now. He should be fine, right? I mean, this Gogeta does hit pretty hard, let's be fair. And Goku can survive KO attacks, but with 1 HP, and then he's getting hit again, so then he dies. Well, yeah, so there you go. I mean, the team, I think the problem with running the double BUU duo team, and I had this issue when putting the team together, is just like, who are the slot 1 units for this team, right? We could have brought another future character and brought the AGL Blue Boys. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a struggle all the way through. And of course, the problem again with running 2 of these guys is we couldn't put the other one into standby. If you were able to do that, we could have standby the other one as well, put them in slot 1, but it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you think the BUU duo are still good? I mean, we got up to like 1.5 million defense on that turn with them. So if we were just running a team with just the one of them on that other rotation, and we're using something else for the opposite rotation, I mean, they definitely looked very, very good in that setup. But the other one didn't get a lot of chances to super, and then the team was just, you know, it is what it is. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.